Hi guys, it's Ben from TX Space Station. How's everyone doing? I apologise in advance. This is going to be a rant video because every now and then I see things on YouTube that make me feel peeved. Now, peeved is probably the best way I can put it. I'll have it known that I'm peeved, sir. And what is it that's got me peeved this time? Well, there's a very big channel that's recently come back and started doing videos, and I'm not going to name any names because I'm not that kind of guy. But he's been talking about recovering from this terrible illness that's afflicted him called video game burnout. Yes, you may know the symptoms of this illness. The symptoms include feeling bored with video games, being unable to play video games, not buying any video games, not going to video game conferences. You get the bloody idea. It's all about video games. But it's a serious illness that afflicts people every now and then, especially people who are too bloody obsessed with video games. And I want to talk about how this is just ridiculous. Firstly, I will say there are times in all of our lives when we won't feel like playing games. I mean, after all, we flipping live, breathe and sleep video games sometimes, especially as YouTubers. You know, I've had plenty of times in the past where I've just felt a little bit sick of gaming. I mean, especially if you're playing hours and hours of games, or you've had a big gaming binge, or you've just been to Play Expo and got really excited, and you'll kind of have phases where naturally there are ebbs and flows to your gameplay habits when you don't particularly feel like playing anything, and that's perfectly fine, and that's just part of the normal peaks and troughs of being interested in something, surely. You can't be 24/7 into something, that's just not physically possible, and actually if you were, I'd say that that's really obsessive and quite abnormal, and you should try to get that sorted, to be honest with you. So I would just say that's a normal part of being into something, and if you start making that into a big deal, I would say to you that you're just being way too serious. It's completely normal to go off something for a little while. Please don't make it out into being some kind of illness that you have to recover from. That's really just being a bit pathetic. You know, I see people with real nasty illnesses. Leprosy, that's a real illness. That makes your dick fall off, or maybe not your dick, but other bits that should stay on come off, okay? That's an illness that takes recovery from. There is a protracted amount of time to get over something like leprosy. If you wanna recover from leprosy, feel free to have a video, and you can whinge as much as you like about that, because that is a shitter. Please don't whinge to me about being tired of playing video games, because it just isn't good enough. It's not a real thing. It doesn't have enough weight, okay? There are actually important issues out there. Please don't be so self-absorbed as to feel as though you need to YouTube about you didn't feel like playing games. And I don't want other people to start going on and relating to this about how they've had burnout too. It just isn't good enough. It's not interesting enough. One thing I think this does highlight, though, is the fact that we need to have varied interests. You simply can't have one thing as being your only thing. And obviously we're all video gaming YouTubers, we're obviously seriously into video games, but you have to have some kind of other outlet or some kind of variety to what you like. I think that if you go all out with it, you will start to get that disillusionment. Certainly now that I've got a really big collection, I have started to get that disillusionment more. You look at it and think, God, I've got so many games, I just don't feel like playing anything. And that's a sign that you're becoming too obsessed with it. Back when I was a kid and I didn't have that many bloody games, I played them all the time. It's almost like you become too involved in something, you start to lose focus on it, and it loses its context, and therefore it loses its relevance, and it loses its specialness. And so you need to have a variety of interests so that you don't, in inverted commas, get burnt out. If you don't feel like playing games, it's fine. Don't worry, you're going to survive, nothing's going to happen to you, your dick's not going to fall off. Go and do something else. I mean, I have YouTube as part of a multiple, very varied set of interests. If I don't feel like doing YouTube, then I go and do something else. And I find that your body will naturally cycle, your brain will naturally cycle between interests. So at times when you feel as though that creative energy is flowing for one thing, don't try and fight it. Don't try and force yourself to do video game videos if you actually want to do something about books or CDs or whatever the hell else it is. Because your brain will always win, and it will come across in your videos if you're not passionate. Don't feel ashamed to actually stop either. Actually, an important part of the creative process is just to let go and have time away from it, because then you can recharge and get ideas. Most of your ideas won't happen while you're actually right there doing it. They'll happen when you come away from it and give yourself a little bit of respite and some creative protectivity so that you can come up with things in your own time, separately and away from the actual thing. It's like if you write an essay, you can't tell if it's good or bad, or a story. You can't tell if it's good or bad without actually coming away from it and coming back to it later. Don't just try to stay stuck in it all the time, or you will, for want of a better word, get burnt out. So this is just a little rant to say keep things in context. Remember, this is just a hobby. This is just a load of people faffing about with entertainment sources and video games. It's not actually important in any real world way, to be honest with you. Please don't moan about having video game burnout, because there's real shit going on in the world, and that is not one of the important things that can happen to you. And also, it won't happen to you if you allow yourself to have some space and allow yourself to have some varied interests.